As I was fretting over this month's food expenses, I saw Guching hand over the malt extract I bought for our daughter to his white moonlight. My husband, who usually looked down on me with disdain, was gazing at another woman with a tender, affectionate look, thinking of my daughter at home, her little face pale from hunger. I rushed over in a frenzy to confront him. He pointed his finger at my nose and shouted, "Don't make a scene like some shrew in public. It's just a can of malt extract. What's the big deal? Manning is so frail. Can't she have some to get stronger?" With a guilty look, he turned back to Bai Guang. "She's just a country girl. Don't hold it against her. Let me take you home." Later, this country girl of mine went to the big city to make a name for herself and became the first millionaire in the county. Yet, he and Bai Guang both came to seek refuge with me, watching Guching ride away on his bicycle, escorting Luo Menying. I tried to ignore the sympathetic glances around me and forced myself to stand up and walk home. As soon as I opened the door, I saw my daughter eagerly waiting in the house. "Mom, where's my malted milk?" When she saw me return empty-handed, she opened her mouth and burst into tears. Seeing my daughter's disappointed face, I ran over, my heart aching. I crouched down and hugged her, tears streaming uncontrollably. How could I let her, so young, know that her father, whom she always admired, had given her malted milk to another woman? Gucheng's monthly income as a teacher wasn't much, and for the past 2 months, he hasn't given me any money for household expenses. He's hardly ever home except to sleep at night. My daughter always pulls my hand and asks, "Where's Daddy? Hasn't he come back yet?" "Mommy, I miss Daddy so much. Today is my daughter's birthday. I asked someone to buy a can of malted milk for me early on, since the canteen was busy today. I asked Guching to bring it back for me. Who would have thought I'd see that scene after work? He should never have touched the child's things." The daughter seemed to sense something was off and wriggled out of my embrace. "Mommy, don't cry." Her little hands frantically wiped away my tears as I forced a smile through my choked sobs, looking at her. Tian, today is your birthday. How about Mommy make you a bowl of longevity noodles? Eating them will bless our Tian to stay healthy and strong." The little one nodded and obediently climbed back onto the bed to sit. I wiped my face and borrowed 2 eggs from Auntie Wang next door to make noodles for my daughter. After putting my daughter to sleep, I sat at the table eating the already cold noodles. The clock on the wall struck 10, and Guching returned, seeing me mechanically chewing. A low, icy sarcasm echoed in my ear. "That's your best quality. No matter what happens outside, you never starve yourself." A whiff of women's face cream wafted into my nose. With a forced effort to suppress the ache in my heart, I couldn't help but retort, "Do you think I'd sit here and eat just to please a man like you? Am I supposed to throw myself into despair over someone like you?" Guching was taken aback, seemingly not expecting the usually obedient me to argue back. He turned his back to me, speaking sternly as if he were reprimanding a student. "Eat, eat, eat. That's all you ever think about. Look at you. Where do you even resemble a woman? You never bother to tidy yourself up, eating like a pig, and all you do is gossip with Aunt Wang next door about other people's business. Crude, ignorant, no sense of responsibility. Manning just returned to City recently. We grew up together. So isn't it natural for me to take a bit more care of her? Just because I gave a can of malted milk, you're acting all offended. Is this the kind of awareness you have as a family member of a people's teacher?" Hearing him say that, I couldn't help but laugh. It's such a pity for him, Guching, to have married me. Whenever we disagree, it's always because I lack awareness. A rural woman like me, who only knows how to put effort into making some delicious dishes, really doesn't deserve a man as lofty as him. Turning to look at my daughter's sleeping face, her brow furrowed, I suddenly felt drained of strength. I stopped speaking and began clearing the dishes from the table on my own. Seeing that I didn't respond, he softened his expression. "In the future, don't speak without thinking, like a jealous shrew. If it weren't for your parents, I wouldn't have." I felt a deep chill and looked up at him, my hands trembling with anger. "What wouldn't you have done? Wouldn't have married me, right, back then, when Cheng's father suddenly fell ill. He was taking an exam in the county town, and Cheng's mother came to my house in tears, begging for help. It was me and my dad who carried Cheng's father to the hospital. Such cold weather, knee-deep snow, and a full 20 miles to go. My dad and I walked to the hospital step by step, leaving one footprint after another. Although the elderly man passed away half a year later, my dad developed a condition where his knees and below would ache severely on rainy days. He still has to go for acupuncture from time to time. The cold damaged my body, leaving me with menstrual cramps. Having Tian didn't alleviate the problem. If anything, it got worse. Once, the pain was so intense that I almost fainted. Every time it gets cold, I get frostbite on my feet, over and over again. What does all this mean after 5 years? It wasn't my parents forcing Guching to marry me. We never intended to use our kindness as leverage. I know very well that Guching has someone in his heart. He likes Luo Manning, and everyone knows it. One day, while I was feeding the pigs in the pigsty, Guching came up behind me, took the ladle from my hand, and said seriously, "Niu Gue, marry me." Back then, as I looked at the tall and handsome man in front of me, I felt like a mouse that had been hit by a giant candy, willingly falling into the sweet trap. I later found out that Luo Manning had left theCity after getting married. I guess I was just a choice he made in his moment of disappointment. Tears blurred my vision, and I saw him turn away in disgust, with a box tied with a red ribbon hidden under his collar. I lost my temper and rushed over, snatching the box from them. Upon closer inspection, it turned out to be a silk scarf. The pattern on it was beyond my comprehension, and I had never seen it on any woman on the street. In my memory, only the dancers from the cultural troupe would wear such things. And since Roman Ning is always stylish and loves scarves the most, it was clear this wasn't meant for me. Guching was shocked and about to snatch it, but I hid it behind me and sneered, "Is this for Romaning?" He nervously grabbed my hand, the first time I've ever seen such an expression on his face. I held on tightly, staring at the gift my husband bought for another woman, but a woman's strength is no match for a man's. He pried open my fingers one by one, snatched it, and upon seeing the crushed gift box, his face turned red with distress. "Chen Niu Gue, are you out of your mind? So what if I gave it to Manling? Would it even look good on you with that figure of yours? Why don't you take a look in the mirror and see what you look like?" Manling just escaped from that unhealthy marriage. As her friend, is there anything wrong with me giving her a scarf to comfort her? Mutual benefit and support. Unity and friendship. Even if you're not well educated, you should know these things. Somehow, I suddenly remembered the last time I went to the supply and marketing cooperative, wanting to buy something to moisturize my face. In the winter, the cold and dry weather makes my face hurt badly when the wind blows. But with money being tight and thinking about my family's situation, I just couldn't bring myself to buy it. In the end, I came back empty-handed. Then I remembered passing by a store and spotting a beautiful sapphire blue coat. The salesperson let me try it on, and they kept complimenting how good it looked. I was delighted looking at myself in the mirror, tugging at Guching who was standing beside me, but he kept his chin tight, staring outside the whole time, never glancing at me once. The sales clerk's smile froze on her face, and in the end, I thanked her, blushing, and returned the clothes to her. On the way home, Guching finally spoke. "Why spend that money on clothes? Royal blue doesn't suit you, and that style looks good only on slender people." I guess he was talking about someone slender like Luo Meniying, and in his heart, I'll always fall short of that woman. No matter how many children I bear for him or how well I manage the household, I can never measure up to the one he truly loves. I stopped my tears and awkwardly wiped my face. Today is our daughter's birthday. Malted milk is something Tian has always wanted to eat, so I bought it for her with my own salary. But you, as a father, gave away the things meant for your child to someone else. He reacted like a cat whose tail had been stepped on. "There are so many things going on at school. How would I know if you didn't tell me? Just buy it again for the child if she wants it." I spread my hands. "I'm broke. Why don't you give me some money?" Seeing him turn his head away, I continued. "We can hardly afford food at home, yet you still have money to buy scarves for other women. That stuff isn't cheap, is it? I know you've always looked down on me. Now that your white moonlight is divorced, you have another chance. I don't want to hold you back. Let's not continue this. Let's get a divorce. It's enough to end all this." The next morning, I went to the canteen with swollen eyes to work, and at noon, the girls from the art troupe came to eat together. At first glance, I saw the tall woman. She reached out, and her slender fingertips tucked the hair behind her ear, revealing her fair and smooth face. She held her head high, and around her long neck was the scarf that Guching and I had fought over last night. The intricate patterns looked stunning on her. I doubt I could ever pull off something like that in my lifetime. She gave me a cold glance and casually touched the scarf. A woman not far away rushed over with a tray of food, her eyes filled with admiration. "Oh, Sister Manning, where did you get this scarf? It's so beautiful. I'll have my husband get me one too tomorrow." With a casual smile, Romaning said nonchalantly, "It's a gift from someone. You can't find this in theCity. It's a style unique to Shanghai. My friend spent 30 yuan to get it." Clang. The ladle I was using to dish out food fell into the iron box, the sharp noise drawing many eyes in my direction. I chuckled wryly. 30 yuan, that was Gu Cheng's monthly salary. 30 yuan was enough to cover our family's expenses for a month. He couldn't bear to buy a piece of clothing or face cream for his wife, nor could he afford to buy another box of malted milk for his daughter. To spend a month's salary on a scarf for a woman, that's quite generous. So he spent all his salary for these months on this woman. 30 yuan, the woman exclaimed, her mouth agape in shock. Her loud exclamation piqued the curiosity of those around her, all eyes turning to Roman Ning. Romaning had a faint smile on her lips, as if she was enjoying the feeling. Oh my goodness, a single scarf costs 30 yuan, that's way too expensive for me. You're so lucky. Which admirer sent this to you? Can I even make it onto your list? Not that I'm saying it's your fault. But for someone who's been divorced once, you still look like a little girl. Hearing this, the smile on Luo Mening's face immediately vanished, and she shot the woman a glare before leaving. The woman pursed her lips and said to those around her, look at how conceited she is, managing to charm those men into spending so much money on a worthless silk scarf for her. She's like a hanged ghost putting on makeup, desperate for attention. After finishing serving the meal, I sat on a small stool in the kitchen washing dishes when Aunt Wang rushed in and closed the door behind her. Seeing her troubled expression and hesitation, I couldn't help but ask, what's wrong, Aunt Wang? Just say it. Niu Gui. Oh, I don't know if I'm just seeing things, but when I was buying vegetables, I saw Guqing giving a woman some canned fruit, and I continued with my task and asked, and what? Still feeding that woman, huh? I saw Aunt Wang rubbing her hands. Her face flushed with embarrassment, and inexplicably sighed. Niu Gui, I shouldn't have said this. I'm afraid it might hurt the harmony between you two. Harmony? There's no harmony left between us, but since we're such good friends, I don't want you to be kept in the dark about everything. I also feel sorry for Tian, that child. Seeing how frugal you two are, it breaks my heart. He's a man spending money like water out there, and those fruit preserves are such a luxury. I wiped the water off my hands onto my apron, the cracks in my skin aching faintly. Auntie, thank you, I understand. In reality, life between a husband and wife always has its ups and downs, but life must go on, especially since you two have a daughter. We women don't have much choice. Why don't you go home tonight and make a couple of dishes to have a good talk with Guqing? He's still young, probably just dazzled by some shady women outside. Men, aren't they all like that? I shook my head. Auntie Wang, I know you mean well, but you don't need to persuade me. I have my own thoughts. After work, I hurried home. As soon as I entered, I saw Guqing, who had never stepped into the kitchen, chasing a chicken around the yard. Feathers were scattered all over his head, and his handsome face looked quite disheveled. Seeing me return, he was overjoyed. Niu Gui, you're finally back. Look, I brought a chicken home, but I didn't expect to have trouble catching it. I boiled some water. You go ahead and stew the chicken. I'm going to take a shower first. The daughter clapped her little hands happily. Mommy, we get to eat meat today. I forced a smile, surprised that Guqing had bought a chicken. It had been a long time since we had seen any meat at home. While chopping the pieces, for some reason, I suddenly remembered what Aunt Wan had said this afternoon. Life goes on no matter what, and it's the same with anyone. I could just leave, but the child, thinking of my daughter, my heart ached, and for a moment, I couldn't make up my mind. The rich aroma of chicken soup filled the room as I carried my daughter to the inner room to change her clothes, thinking of making a bowl of chicken soup with rice for the child later. My hands moved faster. I returned to the kitchen with a bowl, ready to ladle some soup, but when I opened the pot lid, my heart sank. All that remained were 2 chicken wings and a pitiful amount of soup clinging to the bottom of the pot. How could the chicken have suddenly disappeared? I was panicking, thinking a thief had come, but the courtyard gate was intact. How could that be? I glanced outside and noticed that the tightly closed door had somehow opened. Looking again, I realized one of the porcelain bowls was missing. There was nothing left to figure out, so I grabbed my coat and headed out. I rushed straight to Manning Luo's place, and before even stepping inside, I could smell the chicken soup. Aching, thank you. I never expected it would be you by my side now. Manning, what are you talking about? We grew up together, so it's only natural for me to take care of you. The woman's voice was choked with emotion. But you did get married after all. You shouldn't stay here. It's not right. If others find out, just go. You're so weak right now. How can I leave you alone? Let me stay here for a while. I really don't want to go back to that home. Through the window, I watched the 2 people sitting at the table, with a large pot of chicken soup, 2 side dishes, and a jar of fruit preserves opened in front of them. The two side dishes looked like they were made at a state-run restaurant, and they were beautifully presented. I only had the chance to eat that kind of meal once at someone's wedding. Not even during New Year's celebrations have my children and I ever had such a feast. It felt like being drenched in ice water from head to toe. My hopeful anticipation and earlier hesitation now seemed utterly ridiculous. I actually thought he changed when he brought home chicken to appease me and our daughter, but the moment I finished cooking it, he turned around and gave it to Luo Manning. Not even a chicken leg was left for the child. What am I even holding on to with this man? He couldn't afford malted milk powder, but he had money to buy 2 dishes at the state-run restaurant. Is he really going to eat at 2 houses in the future? Romaning's thin back bent down, and she covered her face, gradually crying, her body trembling slightly. Aching, I really regret it. Have we truly missed our chance? If only I had married you back then. You're so good to me. I must have been blinded by something back then. She rested her head on Gu Cheng's shoulder, her entire body seeming as soft and boneless as water. Gu Cheng awkwardly wiped her tears. Manning, actually I tapped on the glass window and shouted hoarsely, Gu Cheng. The 2 bodies that were stuck together instantly sprang apart, and Luo Menning was so scared that she clutched her chest and screamed. Gu Cheng recognized me and said with a dark face, "What are you doing here? Why are you sneaking around outside and not even making a sound? It's such a country bumpkin habit, can't change it." Romaine Ning came to her senses and smiled at me, as if we were close sisters. She opened the door and came up to me. "Cow, is that Sister Cow? Come in and sit down. It's so cold outside." She showed no trace of embarrassment on her face, reaching out to take my hand, but when she looked down and saw my fingers swollen like little radishes, she quickly withdrew her hand. The surprise and disdain in her eyes were impossible to hide. I followed her into the room, and the warmth inside instantly made me shiver, my fingers immediately starting to itch and ache. Romaine placed a chair opposite the table, and the 2 of them sat down as if no one else was present. It felt as though I was the outsider. "Let's eat together." "Ah Cheng, you really are something." Romaine nudged Gu Cheng with her shoulder, her face full of girlish shyness. "Why didn't you bring Sister Nyo along?" "Sister Nyo, try this." Ah Cheng specially went to the state-run restaurant to buy these dishes. "The taste is pretty good, but the chicken soup is too salty for my liking." Gu Cheng, who had been sitting quietly, couldn't help but laugh at her words and picked up a spoon to serve her some soup. "Even if you don't like it, have some. Look how thin you are, and your face is so pale. Drink more chicken soup to get some good nourishment," I said sarcastically. Although I'm just a country bumpkin, I haven't seen as much of the world as the 2 of you, but after living for so many years, it's the first time I've ever seen someone with such thick skin and no shame, right in front of me. The 2 of you are practically glued together. It seems I came at the wrong time. I should have prepared a few more things to congratulate you on finally getting what you wanted. Gu Cheng angrily slammed down his chopsticks, splashing chicken soup all over my face. "Chen Nyo Gue, what are you talking nonsense about? Manning and I are completely innocent." "Sister Nyo, you can eat whatever you want, but you can't just say anything. If you keep spouting nonsense like this, I won't be able to show my face in this world anymore." Luo Menning sat to the side with slightly red eyes, as if she was about to cry at any moment, completely unlike the cold and aloof demeanor she had during the day. Gu Cheng pulled Luo Menning into a comforting embrace, gently patting her back to soothe her. "Get the hell back home now, and we'll talk about it later." Did I say anything wrong? A courtesan and a scholar, preaching benevolence and morality while committing such filthy deeds behind closed doors. "Shut your mouth." Gu Cheng's chest heaved violently with rage. I picked up the spoon and took a sip. The soup was excellent, not the least bit salty, though some palates couldn't appreciate such refined delicacies. Then I grabbed my chopsticks and sampled a few bites. The dishes were quite flavorful. I grabbed the plastic bag from the side, dumped both dishes from the table into it, fished out 2 chicken legs from the soup, and was about to leave, but Gu Cheng blocked my path, yanking my collar and slamming me against the wall. "Are you a starving ghost reincarnated? Manning just got divorced and lost her child. She's very weak. I bought this chicken to nourish her body. Are you that greedy? How could I have been so blind to marry someone as coarse as you, who is so wide you could rival 2 people standing side by side, with no tolerance, and you have to steal food from a patient?" My hand was unbearably painful from the forceful impact, and the old cut seemed to have been unleashed, bleeding profusely. Manning Luo stepped forward to persuade. "Aching, I'm fine, let Sister Nyo take it back to eat. I won't be affected by skipping a meal." At this, Gu Cheng's face twisted with anger. She could starve for a month and still have fat to sustain her. But you're so frail that a gust of wind could knock you over. Forget it, if she wants to eat, let her. The dishes are dirty anyway, and seeing her has completely killed my appetite. Guching picked up the coat beside him and draped it over Luo Meniying. Come on, let's go out to eat. Luo Meniying looked up in surprise, her eyes bright, and followed Guching out the door. I went home, set the dishes on the table, and my daughter's face lit up with joy when she saw all the delicious food I brought back. After wiping her hands, I was about to serve her some food, but she didn't pick up her chopsticks. Why aren't you eating? Dad hasn't come back yet. I'll wait for him to eat together. I felt a pang of sadness and struggled to hold back tears. Sweetie, Dad has something to do today and can't come back for dinner. Let's eat by ourselves. Then don't we need to save some for Dad? Watching my daughter, who clearly wanted to eat but was swallowing her saliva, waiting for her dad, my heart felt like it was being twisted. No need, he already ate outside. Sweetie, eat this big chicken leg now. It won't taste good if it gets cold. In the evening, I was folding clothes one by one and packing them into a bag. My daughter sat on the bed looking at me, and I hesitated before speaking. Tian, if mommy and daddy are going to separate, what would you like to do? I want mommy. My daughter looked at me seriously. Tian wants to stay with mommy. Don't you want daddy? Daddy is bad. He always makes mommy cry, and I don't like daddy anymore. My daughter lowered her head, just as I was about to speak. The door suddenly opened, and Guching walked in humming a tune, looking quite cheerful. Seeing me packing my clothes, he sneered. What, starting to pack up to go back to your parents' house? Exactly. After doing something like that, anyone with a shred of shame would want to find a place to hide for a few days. Watching his shameless demeanor made me feel sick. How on earth did I ever fall for a man like this? Besides that face, it's completely worthless. I remained silent and took out a few papers from the desk beside me, asking him to sign them. He sat in the chair, took the papers, and looked them over carefully. What is this? It's something from the school, along with some benefits, and it needs your signature. The top few are normal, only the one at the bottom is a divorce agreement. Guching flipped through them casually, half smiling as he looked at me. You should learn to read. A woman who can't even read, you need me to sign for you. And you think you can divorce me like this? Can you even survive without me? He has always treated me with such superiority. In his eyes, I can't even read a single word. If he had looked closely, he would have seen my signature at the bottom of the page. Guching quickly signed the papers and went to take a shower. The next morning, I went to the cafeteria to say goodbye to everyone, and on my way back, I stopped by the supply store to buy some snacks. As I passed by Luo Manning's house, I heard the sound of a man yelling and a woman crying inside. Curiosity led me inside, where through the window I saw Romaning lying on the floor, her hair disheveled, her pale face streaked with tears. A man who looked to be in his late 30s viciously kicked her, shouting, "Divorce me, and you ran to this dump. Did you really think I wouldn't find you? You're quite the social butterfly, aren't you? Always finding some young guy to keep you. You're so despicable, Romaning. Don't even talk about losing a child for me. Who knows if that kid in your belly is even mine." It was only then that I noticed Guching was there too. He was standing in the corner, almost invisible if you didn't look closely. The man who always valued Romaning more than anything, at this very moment, was actually hiding in the corner instead of protecting the woman he cherished. Watching this scene, I felt a mix of emotions I couldn't quite put into words. Guching, Ching, take me away quickly. He's a madman, he's insane, he'll kill me. Romaning struggled fiercely, crawling towards Guching. Guching remained indifferent, even wanting to leave, but the man blocked the door, as if deliberately preventing him from going out. Who are you calling crazy, you filthy slut? Are you that desperate for a man? Do you really think this pretty boy dares to take a step forward? You actually believe he can protect you? He's such a coward. The man dragged her back by her ankle. I immediately noticed a pool of blood beneath Romaning. It must be due to the incomplete recovery from her miscarriage, now exacerbated by the violent kicks. This could end up costing someone their life. I hesitated, as it was Romaning who caused all that has happened to me. But without her, could Guching ever truly settle down and build a life with me? Never. A selfish bastard like him only ever loved himself. Stealing myself, I kicked the door open with all my might. The decrepit wooden door gave way instantly, crashing onto the man's back. He looked at me in pain. Who are you? I advise you not to meddle in other people's business. Guching also looked at me in disbelief, while Luo Meniying's expression was somewhat complicated as she watched me approach her. I shouted at Guching, "Why aren't you taking her to the hospital? Do you want to watch her die in front of you?" Guching seemed to wake up from a dream, grabbing Romaining and rushing out. You idiot. I've never seen anyone as stupid as you. You're even worse than Romaining, wanting to save your husband's mistress. It's truly eye-opening. I stepped on his fingers as I walked out. I've already called the police. Guching didn't come back all night. He must have a lot to deal with right now. Early in the morning, I packed up all the valuables I could carry from home, held the child, and left. Who knew I'd see a tall figure waving at me as soon as I arrived at the station? I walked closer. And upon recognizing the person, I exclaimed in surprise, "Zhou Yang, why are you here? Didn't we agree that I would come to Beijing to find you?" The man in front of me scratched his head shyly and grinned. "Sis, I just didn't want you to have trouble traveling with Tian Tian. Since the restaurant is being taken care of, I figured I'd come by and pick you up." I smiled wryly, feeling a warm gratitude welling up inside. It would have been really inconvenient for me to handle everything alone with the kids and all this stuff if he weren't here. Watching him carry my bundle toward the entrance, I followed him into the station. He took care of all our meals and drinks along the way, so the dry rations I brought didn't come in handy at all. It took us 2 full days and nights to get there. Stepping out of the station, I took in the houses, streets, and the fashionable outfits of the people passing by. It felt like I had stepped into another world. I looked down at my outfit and, sure enough, I looked like a country bumpkin. Tian Tian excitedly looked around in all directions. "This place is so beautiful, Mom, I love it here so much." Hearing this, I smiled and made up my mind. If the kids love it here, then I must settle down here. A small car suddenly stopped right in front of me, something I rarely see in city, and there it was, gleaming in front of me. To my surprise, Zhou Yang opened the car door and waved at me. "Sis, get in quickly." I widened my eyes and said, "Is this your car? Impressive, little bro, you've really made it, driving such a nice car now." Zhou Yang smiled faintly, helping me lift Tian Tian into the back seat. "I owe it all to you. If it weren't for you saving me back then, would I have had this day?" I got into the car, my hands nervously unsure of where to place them, looking left and right. Hearing his words, I suddenly relaxed and smiled as well. "You're right. It seems you were destined for wealth. Back then, I just happened to be in the right place at the right time. You don't need to keep it in your heart." Before I married Guching, I once went to cut pigweed and came back to find a person lying by the roadside. I wasn't sure if he was alive or dead, so I mustered the courage to check his breath. He was still breathing, so I carried him back. It turned out he had been an orphan since childhood, always struggling outside, and after being swindled in business, he ended up here, starving for a long time and with injuries. He stayed at my place to recover, and sometimes when he felt better, he would help me with work. He fixed all the leaks in our roof back then, and those were truly the happiest days of my life before marriage. The day before I married Guching, Zhou Yang walked into my room. It was actually his first time stepping foot in my room. Seeing my puzzled look, he approached and handed me a box. Inside lay a pair of golden earrings. I quickly closed it and handed the box back to him, but he held my hand, his eyes filled with a sadness I couldn't comprehend. "Take it, sister. This is my wedding gift to you. No matter where you are, always remember you have me, your brother. If he ever treats you badly in the future, you must tell me, and I'll take care of him for you." I smiled and agreed, only later finding out that he had left that very night, saying he was going out to make a living. Every year during the holidays, he would send things to me and my parents. Sometimes, even Guching would say with a hint of jealousy, "Your brother really treats you well." For the past 2 years, he's been writing to keep me updated on his life, even repeatedly inviting me to join him. I always declined, since being a decent cook is pretty much my only skill. There are countless great cooks out there. How could I possibly work as a chef in a proper restaurant? But that day, Zhou Yang said to me over the phone, "Sis, you're amazing, you just don't realize it. The food you made is the best I've ever had." Thinking of this, I looked at the person in front of me with a smile. His features had matured, adding a few hard edges to his once youthful face. "You've achieved success in your career. Haven't you found a sister-in-law for me yet?" "I'm not in a hurry." Zhou Yang's eyes were fixed on the window, his voice muffled. I shook my head. "You little rascal." I settled right in here. The restaurant's location was great, with 3 floors and a small storage room on the first level. Zhou Yang fixed it up for Tian Tian and me to live in. It had everything we needed: clothes, daily necessities, and even beautiful coats I'd never seen before. There were even things that left me speechless with gratitude. He set down my luggage, patted my shoulder, and said, "Sis, just settle in here. You're going to get better and better." To my surprise, the the people here have similar tastes to those back home. In the past, when I cooked in the cafeteria, everyone praised my cooking skills. I never imagined I'd end up cooking in the kitchen of a big restaurant. During that time, my mom called me countless times, asking if there was really no chance. She said Guching was searching the world for me, completely lost, even skipping classes. I casually changed the subject, asking about her and her father's health. At first, the kitchen staff looked down on me because I came from a small place. During discussions about new dishes, they never called me. Zhou Yan didn't say anything about it, just took me to the kitchen and said he wanted to try my cooking. As a result, a few of my dishes were brought out and placed alongside the head chefs. The uninformed staff all said my dishes were delicious. That's how I finally established myself in this shop. It only took me 2 years to go from a helper to an assistant, then a cook, and eventually the head chef. Tian and I moved out long ago, and now we have enough money to buy a small house. Tian is now attending a kindergarten in the city, arranged by Zhou Yang, and I don't have to worry about. I was sitting at my desk, contemplating whether to find time to go back, but I was worried about the shop being too busy. I mentioned it to Zhou Yang, but he hasn't responded to me yet. I was so lost in thought that I didn't even notice someone sitting next to me. Sister, I have an idea I'd like to discuss with you. You've been here for 2 years and made some money. I was wondering if you'd be interested in becoming a shareholder in our shop. I paused, holding the cup. Me becoming a shareholder. Upon hearing the confirmation, I was left stunned. Zhou Yang poured me some tea and raised an eyebrow. If you want to become a shareholder, you'll need to invest 10,000 yuan and sign a 10-year contract with me. I felt like a huge pie had fallen from the sky onto my head, completely missing the cunning in his eyes, and all I could do was nod, and just like that, I became the head chef and a shareholder of this happy restaurant. Even now, it feels like a dream. 2 days later, I took Tian home by train, and Zhou Yan tagged along happily. He mentioned that he hadn't been back in many years, which was fine by him. As soon as I got off the train, I took Tian and Zhou Yang to the state-run restaurant to pack some dishes. Before we even got home, Tian insisted on going to the convenience store to buy some snacks. I had to take her there. Dad, my hand paused as I was about to pay, and I turned my head to look. Who else could it be standing not far away but Guching? He no longer exudes the confidence he once had. His formerly neat hair is now messy, and his unshaven beard has grown out. He looks as if he's aged more than a decade. Guching stared at Tian in surprise, then turned toward me with an expression of disbelief. Wife, is it really you? He brightened up and ran towards me, trying to grab my hand but I dodged. I gave a faint smile. Just call me by my name. We've been nothing to each other for a long time. No, I never agreed to the divorce, but your name is on it. I had to remind him. You tricked me into signing it back then. I had no idea at the time, otherwise I would never have agreed to divorce you. Will you come back? I really can't live without you, Guching begged me humbly. I silently looked at him, wondering if he couldn't live without me, or if he truly couldn't live without a servant to take care of him. Zhou Yang stood beside me, visibly annoyed, and I softly soothed him. Guching's gaze fell on Zhou Yang, whose face suddenly changed. Pointing at him angrily, he shouted, "Who is he? Is it because of him that you insisted on divorcing me back then? You even accused me of being with Romaining. But it turns out you had already found your next partner." His voice was loud, and the uncles and aunts who recognized me began to whisper among themselves. Irritated, I turned around, not wanting to continue arguing with such a scoundrel. He followed me all the way home. My dad saw Guching following me and thought I had changed my mind. This is good too. A woman alone outside. Dad, I cut him off coldly. I have no relationship with Guching at all. My mom looked embarrassed, and later I found out that during the 2 years I was gone, Guching had changed and was searching for me all over the world. He, who had never cared about my parents before, started helping out a lot around our house after that. When someone tried to set him up on a date, he politely declined, saying he wanted to wait for me to return. Guching has indeed realized his mistake, and he hasn't been with that woman. Has he not been with that woman? Or did she dump him after realizing he was selfish, cold-hearted, and unfaithful? I impatiently said. If they had been together back then, this wouldn't have happened today. Guching has always been a self-serving person. My mother was about to persuade me again, but I picked up my luggage and said, "Mom, if you say anything more, I'm leaving." All right, dear, you should also say less. I think Niu Gui is doing quite well like this. Zhou Yang sat next to me, his face dark, and I had no idea what was wrong. He wouldn't even eat. My mom served him some soup. Yang It's about time you got married. What kind of girl do you like? Tell your godmother, and I'll introduce you to someone. Zhou Yang took the soup, his expression softening. Godmother, there's someone in my heart, but she hasn't accepted me yet. My mom immediately lit up with joy. That's wonderful. Take your time, even an iron rod can be ground into a needle. Rain began to fall abruptly outside as Guqing stood beyond the gate, gazing inward through the railings. I ate calmly under his piercing stare. He deserved every bit of this treatment. After the meal, Guqing remained motionless like a stone statue in the same spot. He was, after all, Tiantian's father. With a sigh, I followed him to a nearby diner. Zhou Yang had wanted to come along too, but I stopped him. Niu Gui, you've changed a lot over the past 2 years, Guqing said earnestly, his eyes reflecting admiration, joy, and a hint of regret. The outfit I was wearing was the same sapphire blue jacket I hadn't bought back then. However, now that I've slimmed down, my originally delicate features are more pronounced, and my skin has become fairer. The villagers who saw me today all said I had become so beautiful that they could hardly recognize me. I could hear my neighbor cursing from inside while I was eating. TSK, they picked the sesame seed but lost the watermelon. Now the other person is a wealthy entrepreneur in a big city. And they still have the audacity to show up here. I've never seen such shamelessness. You've changed a lot too, I said seriously after taking a sip of tea. Guqing's eyes reddened slightly. We still have a daughter. No matter what, our daughter can't grow up without a father. It's been so long since I returned, and the gossips have been telling me how miserable Guqing's life has been since I left. First, he lost his job and then spent his days drinking. Drunk. He would go crazy looking for me on the streets, mistaking others for me several times, and because of that, he's been invited for tea countless times. Tian is doing well now. If you're sincere, clean yourself up, and I'll welcome you to see the child. He grabbed my hand, tears falling from his deep eyes. Nothing ever happened between me and Romaining. I was wrong before. I hurt you, and I know it, but I will change. I really will. Give me another chance. And I'll be a good husband and a good father. I shook my head. It ended between us 2 years ago. Why, weren't you always the one who liked me the most? I lowered my eyes to the cup of tea in front of me. Even liking has an expiration date. After too many disappointments, you just stop liking someone. Hearing this, his face turned pale, as if his soul had left his body. No, it can't be. On our wedding day, we made a promise to each other in front of Chairman Mao's portrait. To be together for a lifetime. How can things have changed now? You did this to yourself. I got up to leave, but to my surprise, he wouldn't let go of me. Zhou Yang suddenly appeared out of nowhere and punched Guqing. The two immediately started fighting, and I quickly rushed forward to pull them apart. Even if you don't have a mirror, you must have urine, right? Please take a look at yourself, Zhou Yang said tightly, clenching his fists, as I was applying medicine to him. I couldn't help but complain. Why are you still so impulsive at your age? He hugged my waist like a little kitten and mumbled, Sister, I like you. I really like you, and I don't want to just be your brother anymore. Hearing his words, my heart raced, a tingling sensation surged through me, and I blushed, quickly pushing him away and running out of the room. Early the next morning, I took Tian out to buy things, only to see a car suddenly rush out and hit someone. I was so scared that I quickly covered Tian's eyes so she wouldn't see. Just as I was thinking about whether to help take the person to the hospital, I saw them wobble to their feet, smile at me, and hand me a perfectly intact cake. Niu Gui, didn't you always want to eat this bakery's cake on your birthday? I'm sorry, I never took your feelings seriously before. It's my fault. I bought you a cake now. Would you still like to have it? Guqing looked at me cautiously, completely disregarding the injuries on his body. I wiped the tears from the corner of my eye and looked at Zhou Yang standing beside me. Thank you, but I already have a cake. Guqing looked in the direction I was gazing, his eyes darkening, and he gave a bitter smile before limping away. Later, the restaurant's business boomed. And Xingfu restaurant opened several branches. I stopped being a chef, passed on my secrets, and started living a life where I counted money every morning. This day, as I was checking the accounts in the shop, an unexpected person suddenly arrived. Luo Meniying awkwardly rubbed his hands and looked at me. Sister Gui, I heard from people in City that you'd become a big boss. I was wondering if you could introduce me to a job. I just want to make a living. I poured her a cup of tea and only then did I learn that she hadn't stayed with Guqing after I left, because she realized these men were utterly unreliable. Although she was rushed to the hospital in time that day, the damage was severe, and she had to undergo a hysterectomy. Her abusive ex-husband ended up in jail. This incident caused quite a stir in City. She was dismissed from the cultural troupe and injured her ankle, rendering her unable to dance anymore. Now she just does odd jobs to make a living. I looked at the woman before me with graying hair, who was no longer as beautiful and proud as she had been when I first met her. In the end, I still gave her an address, letting her work as a cashier at a shop owned by an old friend. It was an easy job. All she had to do was handle the accounting. "You're still so kind and soft-hearted," Zhou Yang said, draping a coat over me and pulling me up to prepare to pick up Tian Tian. I smiled gently, looking at the man who was now my husband. "Because I have you." Story 2. Before Xiao Qianma went to the capital to take the imperial exams, he promised that if he ranked high, he would come to Xingwakan to marry me. I supported him for 3 years by reselling apricot blossom cakes and waited for him for 3 years. All I got in return was his words, "You, a mere village woman, dare to dream of being my wife. I'll marry you, but only as a concubine. And you can stay in Xingwakan to take care of my parents." As a token of filial piety, that day, the wind blew the sedan chair's curtain aside, revealing my side profile adorned in phoenix coronet and bridal veil. He and the scholars stepped forward to block my sedan chair. "Ha ha ha, Su Xinghua, you're so cheap. You're willing to be demoted to a concubine just to marry me. You deserve to spend your whole life in this wretched place as a country bumpkin." The crowd on the street grew larger, hurling insults at me, calling me a worthless slut. The rumors are spreading more and more. Xiao Qianma fanned the flames of conflict, dragging me out of the sedan chair and hurling me violently to the ground. He stripped off my garments, fastened a dog collar around my neck, and paraded me around the Zhuangyuan manor to humiliate me. The situation only changed when the emperor's personal eunuch arrived in haste with an imperial decree, immediately dropping to his knees before me. "Your Highness the eldest princess, this lowly servant arrived too late. I deserve death for this failure." Xiao Qianma's face turned pale in an instant. I was roughly pulled out of the sedan chair by Xiao Qianma and thrown to the ground. He looked down at me with disdain. "Su Xinghua, is that how much you want to marry me? Would you even agree to be a concubine? Aren't you afraid your dead mother will crawl out of her grave at night to curse you? You're truly a disgrace to your mother. Let me tell you, Su Xinghua, I, Xiao Qianma, will never bring home a woman who devalues herself, not even as a concubine." A glob of spit landed by my hand, mixing with the bloodstain from the scraped skin on the ground. I endured the searing pain in my hand and clenched my fist tightly. He was indeed clear-headed, clearly remembering how his mother entrusted me to him before her death. But what about him? He pocketed the 10 taels of silver left by his mother, promised to return to marry me after passing the imperial exam, and left his sick parents behind without a second glance, never looking back as he left Plum Blossom Village. I supported his parents and funded his studies by reselling plum blossom cakes, and 3 years quickly passed. Last month, the good news of his high school graduation reached us. I was overjoyed, thinking I had finally made it through, but he still hasn't fulfilled his promise. Worried, I rushed to his mansion, granted by the emperor as a reward for being the top scholar. To find him, he changed his usual gentle demeanor, becoming arrogant, and his insults towards me kept coming. "Marry me. I am the top scholar, with a bright future ahead of me, and the emperor himself has promised to marry the long-lost princess to me. What makes you, a mere village woman, think you could be my wife?" Disheartened, I felt as if 3 years had been wasted, and without looking back, I turned and left. Unexpectedly, I ran into the village chief at the village entrance, who stopped me, a lost and confused soul, and introduced me to the man beside him. "This is our county magistrate, Xinghua. What an honor for you." To my astonishment, the magistrate suddenly bowed before me and blurted out the whole story under my terrified gaze. It turned out my deceased mother was the emperor's most beloved imperial consort. She had faked her death years ago to escape the palace. The emperor was heartbroken and had been relentlessly searching for years. I had thought I would never find my beloved concubine and daughter again, until a few days ago when an informant saw the jade pendant I had pawned at the pawnshop. I touched the half-jade pendant that had been lost and found again, a hint of sadness flickering in my eyes. Back then, when the Xiao couple fell ill, I had spent all my silver. Xiao Qianma was rushing me again, so I had to temporarily pawn the jade pendant my mother left me. Unexpectedly, a twist of fate unraveled the truth about my origins. The governor interpreted the sadness in my eyes as reluctance to leave Plum Blossom Village, and kindly advised, "Miss Plum Blossom, please rest assured, the emperor has already sent someone south, and they will arrive tomorrow. Go back and prepare yourself, and tomorrow morning I will send a palanquin to escort you away. If you wish to return in the future, you may do so." The evening breeze caresses and the scent of rice fills the air. It's better to leave like this. The only thing I'm tied to here is the marriage arranged by my mother before she passed away. Now that Xiao Qianma has personally annulled the marriage, this engagement no longer counts. This morning, I dressed up in my finest and boarded the palanquin prepared by the prefect. Little did I expect that passing by the top scholar's residence would lead to such a ridiculous scene. The dust on the ground was flying, choking me back to my senses. The heavy royal attire weighed me down, making it hard to breathe. Just as I tried to struggle to my feet, Xiao Qianma pushed me back down. I let out a startled cry as a sharp pain shot through my palm. Xiao Qianma stepped over with one foot, straddling my back and curling his lips into a mocking smile. "What are you getting up for? So eager to marry in and serve me? How about I satisfy you right here? You're really dense. I rejected you so clearly, yet you still rush forward. Is it really that much love?" The crowd around us grew larger, and curious gazes and murmurs fell on me and Xiao Qianma. "Isn't this the girl who sells apricot blossom cakes at the village entrance? It's true that women who show their faces in public aren't worth much, isn't that right? I thought she came from a decent family. But I didn't expect her to be so lowly as to willingly become someone's concubine. What good can come from someone who offers themselves up? Maybe all these years of selling apricot blossom cakes were just a cover to seduce men. Haha." The filthy words kept pouring in, and the jeers pierced through my eardrums, seeping into my heart. Xiao Qianma knew that all the money he had spent over these 3 years came from my early mornings and late nights selling apricot blossom cakes. Yet he stood by coldly, fanning the flames, not bothering to defend me even once. I was utterly heartbroken, clenching my bloodied palm, enduring the excruciating pain as I struggled to get up. Xiao Qianma suddenly exerted force with the top of his foot, pressing me back to the ground. He publicly humiliated me without any restraint. "What are you getting up for? With skin so thick you volunteered to be a concubine. Can't you take a bit of humiliation, with such thin skin? Where do you get the nerve to aspire to be with me? I don't understand." It was him who promised my mother he would marry me, and it was him who swore to me that he would. Now that I've let go and want to completely break free from him, it's him who comes to humiliate me. Xiao Qianma, what exactly have I done wrong to you? Tears well up in my eyes and trickle down my cheeks. I suppress my trembling body, swallow the bitterness rising in my throat, and speak calmly. "Xiao Qianma, I'm not here to marry you." The crowd fell briefly silent, then murmurs started again. "It doesn't seem like a wedding dress after all. The intricate patterns. I've never seen this style of wedding dress before. Could it be that the top scholar is mistaken and delusional?" Xiao Qianma was stunned for a moment, and in a moment of panic, he ripped off my official robe with a single powerful tear. He moved his foot off me, holding up the intricately patterned fabric and urgently addressing the crowd. "What do you know? This is the latest fabric in the capital. I've seen it. It's what they wear at the 100 Flowers brothel." As if afraid that the crowd wouldn't believe him, he rushed over again, stripped off my outer garment, and tore it into pieces to distribute to the onlookers. "Look for yourselves. Who but a prostitute would wear such a garish fabric?" I trembled with rage, clutching the only undergarment I had, and shouted, "Nonsense. This is the official attire of the current princess." A gust of cold wind swept through, chilling me to the bone through the thin fabric. Xiao Qianma paused, his face a mix of disbelief and amusement as if he had just heard the biggest joke in the world. "What, you, Su Xinghua, you're the princess?" He burst out laughing, and soon everyone else joined in. "What kind of dream are you having, Su Xinghua, if you can't marry me? You're dreaming of being a princess. Don't tell me you think you're the eldest princess now. Ha ha ha, you don't really think that just because you're pretending to be the eldest princess, you can marry me, do you?" I stared in disbelief, never expecting him to lead the mockery so recklessly. A wave of disappointment hit me hard. I shouted at the crowd, "I, Su Xinghua, am not here to marry Xiao Qianma today." Seeing my expression, the crowd began to doubt but still hesitated. Xiao Qianma walked over, yanked the jade pendant from around my neck, and held it up in the air. "Look at this. What is it?" "This is our betrothal pendant. Tell me, if you don't want to marry me, why are you keeping it?" I was frantic, tugging at his sleeve, but I just couldn't reach it. "This jade pendant was left to me by my mother. It's clearly your duty to return the other half to me." Xiao Qianma shoved me away and spat on the ground. "This was clearly given to me by your mother to sell you to our family. Otherwise, with your frail body and no protection from our family's scholarly status, how would you have survived all these years?" My eyes burned crimson with rage, teeth grinding in fury. "All these years I've managed his household, cared for his parents, funded his education, and now he claims he's been protecting me all along. Never have I encountered such a shameless, truth-twisting, ungrateful wretch. Xiao Qianma saw that I remained silent and his expression grew smug. Su Xinghua, can't keep up the act anymore, huh? If you want to marry me, just say so. I'm about to be transferred to the Hanlin Academy in the capital and promoted to a 5th-rank official. It wouldn't be impossible to make an exception and marry you, but you can only be a concubine, staying in Xinghua village to serve me dutifully. I stared at his arrogant demeanor, too exhausted to argue. I told you. I'm not here to marry you today. My sedan chair isn't a bridal one, it's an official one. He paused, glancing at the sedan chair with a hint of uncertainty, then looked at me. I thought he understood what I said, but instead, he widened his eyes and said to me, well, Su Xinghua, you're really going all out to marry me, hired such a fancy sedan chair. Huh, you must have been hiding quite a bit of silver all these years, haven't you? I stared at him in disbelief, struggling to even speak. You knew I pawned the jade pendant my mother left me for just 2 taels of silver. He wouldn't listen to my explanation, forcefully gripping my neck and slamming me hard to the ground. Someone, fetch the dog leash. Su Xinghua, your mother sold you to our household. Every penny you earn belongs to me, not for you to secretly hoard and splurge on bridal sedans, understand? Flecks of his spit sprayed across my face as his rage came at me like a physical force. With the coarse rope brought by a servant, he viciously tightened it around my neck. I struggled with reddened eyes, tears silently streaming down my cheeks. Xiao Qianma grew even more excited, pulling me around in circles. Ha ha ha, Su Xinghua, if you crawl around the Zongyuan mansion once, I'll marry you. How about it? Most of the onlookers were there for the spectacle. And they began to cheer and clap for Xiao Qianma. I have never felt more suffocated than I do right now. Let me go. Xiao Qianma ignored her, waved his hand, and shouted, someone, bring me a horse. He mounted the horse, pulling me along unsteadily, and rode around the residence of the top scholar. Xiao Qianma wasn't satisfied yet. Seeing that I was about to give up, he impatiently ordered someone to kick me. Get up, only half a lap, and with such a frail body, how will you serve me after marrying in? Trembling, I propped myself up, despairingly looking at the man I had longed for 3 years, regretting my decision. Xiao Qianma, you deserve to die. He burst into laughter, the sound echoing through the entire street. Su Xinghua, who gave you the nerve to insult me? Is it because of your fake status as a princess? The laughter reverberated in my ears, and a drop of bloody tear fell from the shattered jade pendant. A crisp sound pierced the sky. My world came crashing down. No, the only thing my mother left me was shattered by Xiao Qianma. A wave of discomfort drained me of strength, and everything around me began to blur. In the instant I lost consciousness, I thought I glimpsed a flying dagger slicing through the thick rope around my neck. Xiao Qianma's agonized cry and the sound of hooves echoed simultaneously. A figure knelt heavily before me. Your Highness, I'm late. I'm so sorry. I woke up and found myself in the prefect's residence. The prefect knelt on the ground to apologize to me. It's all my fault for being derelict in my duty, not preparing guards for the princess, which led to her being humiliated. Fortunately, the princess is wise and had the coachman accompany her to inform me in time. If it had been any later and a major mistake had been made, my entire family's heads would have been at risk. Beside me, Eunuch Shan also knelt down and knocked his head heavily on the ground. Eunuch Shan raised his head and spoke reverently. Indeed, Your Highness is the Empire's sole princess, His Majesty's personally enshrined Grand Princess. His words exploded in my ears like gunpowder. I touched my hollow chest, feeling a sharp pang of anguish, but the matching jade pendant for kinship verification was shattered by Xiao Qianma. Eunuch Shan stared at my face before kneeling respectfully once more. Your Highness need not worry, you bear striking resemblance to her late majesty in her youth, and our Shadow Guard's years of investigation confirm beyond doubt that you are indeed the Emperor's bloodline. Now Your Highness must consider how to deal with that shameless scoundrel Xiao Qianma. How dare a mere top scholar treat royalty with such insolence? This outrage demands severe punishment. That shameless wretch is kneeling at the magistrate's gate this very moment. We await Your Highness's judgment on how to deal with him. This humble servant will report everything truthfully to His Majesty. Rest assured, we won't let Your Highness suffer any injustice. Memories of past events flooded my mind as I recalled all I'd endured. Tracing the wound on my neck with my fingers, I spoke calmly. Let him in. Xiao Qianma arrived swiftly, still carrying the bundle of thorny branches on his back. He barged in and immediately dropped to his knees before me, his face etched with remorse. Apricot Blossom, I was blind not to recognize Mount Tai. Who'd have thought you were the crown princess? Every fault lies with me, but I had no other choice, no other choice. What depths of desperation drive a man to publicly humiliate an innocent woman? What greater desperation still, to leash her like a dog and parade her before the examination champion's mansion? I opened my eyes and said coolly, "Do tell." Xiao Qianma shed silent tears, her voice trembling with raw emotion. "Xinghua, everything I've done is to protect you, ever since His Majesty considered betrothing the princess to me. My marital fate was no longer mine to decide. If the emperor learns of our former engagement, you'll lose your head." Eunuch Shan beside us made to protest, but I silenced him with a raised hand. "That makes sense, Xiao Qianma. My father wished me to marry you, and my late mother arranged our betrothal. Since this was all a misunderstanding, shall we proceed with the marriage as planned?" Xiao Qianma looked up, stunned yet overwhelmed with joy. "Of course, Xinghua. Marrying you has always been my greatest wish." A cold laugh rose in my heart, though my face remained impassive. "Since our marriage stands unchanged, and you've broken the jade pendant mother left me, shouldn't you compensate me with your half? Any objections?" Xiao Qianma hesitated briefly before curling his lips into a broad smile. "Your Highness's forgiveness honors me. The pendant remains at my capital residence. May I present it after His Majesty decrees our union?" My fingers curled into fists as I lowered my gaze, masking the hatred burning in my eyes. When I looked up again, only joy remained in my expression. "Agreed." The next morning, Eunuch Shan and I departed for the capital with Xiao Qianma following close behind. All along the way, he kept finding new ways to cheer me up. He obeyed my every request without complaint. On our arrival in the capital, Xiao Qianma couldn't conceal the fervor flashing in his eyes. Lifting the carriage curtain with a smile, I told him, "Go fetch the jade pendant from the residence. Father Emperor must wish to see Mother Consort's keepsake once more." Hesitation filled his eyes as he remained silent, covering my face in feigned distress. I said, "Surely you wouldn't want His Majesty to hear me say you broke the jade pendant. What if his anger prevents our marriage?" A sudden resolve flashed through Xiao Qianma's eyes, dispelling all hesitation. "Xinghua, wait for me at the palace gates. I'll rush home to fetch it immediately." I watched his receding figure and summoned Eunuch Shan, whispering into his ear. A glimmer of understanding flashed in the eunuch's eyes as he turned toward the palace gates. A quarter hour later, Xiao Qianma returned. When I demanded the jade pendant back, he kept making excuses. With no other choice, I reluctantly yielded, allowing Eunuch Shan to lead us through the palace gates and up the grand staircase to the Hall of Mental Cultivation. Before us stood the resplendent palace gates, where Eunuch Shan bowed deeply in greeting. "Your Highness the Princess, and our distinguished top scholar, please enter. His Majesty awaits you inside." Gripping my skirts tightly, I lifted my foot and stepped across the threshold into the Hall of Mental Cultivation. "Su Xinghua pays homage to your Majesty." A resonant voice rang out above me, tinged with age and emotion. "Raise your head." I lifted my gaze and slowly straightened my posture, beholding the legendary Son of Heaven, my biological father. Tears welled in the corners of his eyes as his lips quivered. The resemblance, it's uncanny, truly worthy of being Consort Xiang's daughter. Such peerless beauty. Eunuch Shan stood nearby, pointing at Xiao Qianma beside me with a chuckle. "Your Majesty and Her Highness share the same thought. The imperial scholar you intended to arrange a marriage for last year turns out to be precisely the groom Consort Xiang selected for the princess." The emperor laughed heartily, looking at Xiao Qianma with satisfaction as he spoke. "Excellent match. A talented scholar and a beautiful princess. Since the princess has just returned, we shall keep her at court a while longer. As for the marriage, we'll discuss it another time." A flicker of urgency flashed through Xiao Qianma's eyes upon hearing this. The emperor spoke again. "My daughter cannot marry just anyone. For now, you shall serve at the Hanlin Academy to make yourself known." "How fortunate. Eunuch Shan's nephew also serves there. He shall mentor you." At these words, a smile reappeared on Xiao Qianma's face. "Thank you, Your Majesty." After concluding all matters, a trace of sorrow surfaced in the emperor's eyes as he murmured, "What a pity. Consort Xiang departed so suddenly, and not even her personal effects remain in the palace." Upon hearing this, Xiao Qianma delightedly produced the half-piece of jade pendant he'd been carrying. My heart clenched as I pressed my lips together, terrified he might take it back. "Your Majesty, I have an item left behind by Her Highness." The emperor looked startled, his voice trembling with emotion. "Bring it to me at once." Xiao Qianma placed the jade pendant on the tray with an ingratiating tone. "This was bestowed upon me by Her Highness in gratitude for my family sheltering Xinghua. If your Majesty would honor me by keeping it as a memento." I couldn't help but sneer upon hearing this. Xiao Qianma's cunning knows no bounds, daring to lie before the emperor about the missing half of the jade pendant. Rather than exposing him, I deftly steered the conversation elsewhere. Killing Xiao Qianma now would be letting him off too easily. I'll make him experience the bitter taste of falling from grace into utter ruin. 2 months later, as I arranged flowers in the princess's manor, commotion erupted outside the gates. My maid Xiaozhi rushed to my side breathlessly, exclaiming, "Your Highness, young Master Xiao has racked up 5,000 taels of gambling debt. The creditors have blockaded our gates, trimming the withered branches." I remarked indifferently, "Oh, really?" The maid nodded emphatically with measured politeness. "Indeed, Your Highness, perhaps you could advise his lordship." Arranging the flowers neatly in the vase, I smiled faintly. "Who told you he's the imperial son-in-law?" Xiaozhi stared wide-eyed, remaining silent for a long while. Squinting my eyes, I gazed through the window at the netherworld gate in the distance. 2 months. Time to reel in the net. A month ago, Xiao Qianma and I stepped out of the Hall of Mental Cultivation. The very next day, he assumed his post at the Hanlin Academy. Being new and unfamiliar with everything, only eunuch Shan's nephew was willing to show him the ropes. He kept an exceptionally low profile. I began bringing him lunch every day. Everyone knew he was the man I loved, the emperor's personally appointed Zhuangyuan scholar with a brilliant official career ahead. Gradually, he gained more connections at the Hanlin Academy, and more people came to curry favor with him. Amidst the grand flattery, Xiao Qianma slowly lost himself. A little temptation is all it takes to lead one astray. His gambling spiraled out of control, pawning his estate when broke, charging debts to the princess's household. If I don't bail him out, next thing you know, he'll be taking bribes. A faint smile played on my lips as I told Xiaozhi, "Go inform them that Xiao Qianma's debts have nothing to do with the princess's residence." During the Zhou dynasty, accepting bribes exceeding 1,000 taels was punishable by death. Xiao Qianma, you'd better not disappoint me. 2 months later, eunuch Shan came seeking me at the residence. He handed me a booklet. "Your Highness, this is the list of officials who bribed Xiao Qianma over the past 2 months. This humble servant can assist you no further." I thanked the eunuch and ordered the carriage prepared for my journey to the palace. In the Hall of Mental Cultivation, I fell to my knees the moment I saw my father. Tears streaming down my face. "Father, I simply cannot endure Xiao Qianma any longer." In just a few words, I blurted out what had happened at Apricot Blossom Village and truthfully recounted Xiao Qianma's misdeeds over these past months. I thought I could remain composed while retelling these events, yet tears still clouded my vision. Your daughter had hoped granting him a chance for redemption would lead to reform, yet against all expectations, he became addicted to gambling dens. I simply cannot entrust my future to such a man. The emperor's face darkened with fury upon hearing this. Outrageous. How dare my eldest princess suffer such indignity? Summon Xiao Qianma immediately. Have that wretch dragged before me. The palace attendants helped me up, seating me on a nearby couch. After about half an hour, Xiao Qianma finally arrived. The emperor hurled an inkstone at his face, roaring, "Broad daylight, and we had to drag you out of a gambling den." "Xiao Qianma, what a fine top scholar you've turned out to be." Xiao Qianma's face drained of color as his knees hit the floor with a thud. "Your Majesty, spare me. This humble servant deserves death 10,000 times over." The emperor maintained his composure, his tone laced with disappointment. "You truly deserve death. How dare you make our daughter parade around the Zhuangyuan's residence wearing a dog leash, and even presume to take her as your concubine? Your audacity knows no bounds." Xiao Qianma's eyes widened as he whipped his head toward me. Disbelief written across his face. I met his gaze coldly, my expression unreadable. "I had no intention of revisiting this matter, but your recent conduct has been utterly disappointing. Unless His Majesty understands the full context, I fear the princess's estate may become your personal coffers." A flicker of panic crossed Xiao Qianma's features, his eyes betraying sheer terror. "Your Majesty, my actions that day were unintentional. I swear I didn't know Xinghua was Her Royal Highness. I only resorted to such measures out of concern that Xinghua might be coerced. I beg for your Majesty's forgiveness." Another inkstone came flying toward Xiao Qianma. "Nonsense. Do you take me for a fool?" The inkstone struck his head squarely, sending crimson blood gushing forth. "You ungrateful wretch. After Xinghua nurtured your talents, you'd abandon her. You nearly robbed me of seeing my own daughter. Guards, strip Xiao Qianma of his official robes, give him 50 heavy strokes, and drag him beyond the palace gates. Your betrothal to the Grand Princess is hereby annulled." Xiao Qianma's eyes widened in horror, his entire body racked with regret. "No, I beg your Majesty to reconsider." Palace guards dragged Xiao Qianma out of the Hall of Mental Cultivation, his agonized screams echoing through the chamber. I bid farewell to my father the emperor and stepped out of the hall of mental cultivation. Xiao Qianma's eyes lit up when he saw me, trembling as he spoke. Xinghua, please, beg for mercy on my behalf. I crouched down, patting his blood-stained cheek with pity, saying, what a shame, it was I who reported you to his majesty, why would I show mercy now? He glared at me with gritted teeth, venom dripping from his eyes. Did you do this on purpose? I arched an eyebrow and let out a disdainful snort. A cold smirk twisted his lips as blood trickled from the corner of his mouth. I should have strangled you back then, letting you return alive. Ah, screams mingled with the sickening sound of flesh-splitting echoed through the empty palace courtyard. Rising to my feet, I ordered the palace guards to beat him to death before slowly walking out of the imperial compound. May betrayers of true love choke on 1,000 needles. Xiao Qianma. This is merely the beginning. News of Xiao Qianma's public beating in the palace hall spread like wildfire through the capital. The revelation of his dismissed post and lost royal patronage sent his former bribe-givers into frantic despair. They took turns probing whether Xiao Qianma stood any chance of making a comeback. The more impatient ones went straight to Zhuangyuan mansion to corner Xiao, demanding repayment. Already battered and bedridden, he could hardly endure this relentless barrage of visits. The cruelest blow came when loan sharks showed up pressing for gambling debts. Without protection now, Xiao Qianma found the gambling den riffraff speaking to him in anything but polite tones. They'd throw punches at the slightest provocation, leaving him howling in pain. Left with no choice, he came begging at my princess's estate. The day he arrived, the apricot blossoms in the courtyard burst into bloom. Mother loved apricot blossoms best. I made him kneel beneath the tree to beg Mother's forgiveness. He stared at me, bewildered and confused. I spoke calmly. Isn't it me you want to plead your case? Confess every wrong you've done me over the years truthfully, and I'll go to the palace to help you. He seemed doubtful after hearing me, until I repeatedly assured him of my help. Clenching his teeth, he began to speak. First wrong. I shouldn't have taken those 10 taels of silver and come to the capital alone, leaving my parents for Xinghua to care for. Second, I shouldn't have kept asking Xinghua for money, for 3 whole years. Third, I shouldn't have broken off our engagement after becoming the top scholar, much less humiliated her publicly. That's it. I stared at him in disbelief. Xiao Qianma pondered for a long while, his face growing pale. If you won't plead for me, just say so. Why put me through this? I shook my head and looked at him. Your greatest sin is changing your heart. Then trying to pin the blame on a woman. You knew full well how hard it is for women to survive in this world, yet when everyone scorned me for selling apricot cakes, you didn't utter a single word in my defense. You've always looked down on country women, yet after achieving fame, you brought a crowd to humiliate me. You're selfish, cowardly, arrogant, and full of empty boasts, always reaching beyond your grasp. Xiao Qianma. Even as a lowly countrywoman, I still hold you in contempt. A flicker of humiliation flashed in Xiao Qianma's eyes, his face burning with embarrassment. Had enough. Are you going to help me or not? The corners of my lips curled into a faint smile. Don't worry, I'll return to the palace immediately to plead your case. His clenched fist relaxed slightly as he smiled with satisfaction. Xinghua, I knew you still cared about me. I smiled, keeping one final sentence unspoken to Xiao Qianma. He vastly overestimated his own charm. I wouldn't take him even if he were handed to me on a silver platter. Petals swirled through the air, carrying the sweet fragrance of apricot blossoms. I stepped out of the courtyard and left the princess's residence. To the imperial palace, in the hall of mental cultivation, I presented Father Emperor with the ledger documenting Xiao Qianma's bribery dealings. This ledger contained irrefutable evidence of Xiao Qianma's corruption over the past 2 months. We owe these meticulous records to eunuch Shan's nephew, who risked everything to document every name. I knelt formally with perfect posture, pressing my forehead to the floor. Father, though Xiao Qianma has acted excessively this time, I still beg you to show leniency in consideration of past affections. Cold, cutting words escaped my lips. I raised my eyes to meet my slightly angered father's gaze, curling the corner of my mouth. Xiao Qianma, I pleaded your case. As for the outcome. Outrageous. The mountain of memorials on the desk toppled instantly, scattering noisily across the floor. With a thunderous bang, the emperor slammed his writing tablet onto the desk. This so-called top scholar has brought shame upon Great Zhou. He's disgraced our imperial dignity. Guards, take Xiao Qianma to the dungeons and have the Supreme Court investigate thoroughly. I curtsied contentedly and took my leave from His Majesty. Yet I froze momentarily when lifting my head. My father sighed. My eldest princess, truly your mother's daughter. You wield my authority as effortlessly as she ever did. Flustered, I opened my mouth to protest. but the emperor merely waved his sleeve dismissively. Enough. Had I not been so determined to retaliate against her manipulations back then, she wouldn't have taken you from the palace in defiance. All these years, I've been living with regret, rest assured. I won't interfere with your marriage, I'll clear all obstacles for you. With a heart full of melancholy, I left the imperial palace. Mother did tell me her story. She said my father was incredibly capable and could accomplish many things, except when it came to matters of the heart. He was utterly clueless, he was fickle, always chasing after new thrills while eyeing greener pastures. She merely gave his new flame a piece of her mind, and he couldn't handle it. I was young and naive back then, but all the uncles and aunties around me were happily paired couples. I couldn't understand why Mother's husband had so many wives. Mother smiled and said, I hope Su Xinghua never meets such a man in her lifetime. May she stay in Apricot Blossom Village and find one true love forever. I didn't understand it then. Now I understand. Mother didn't leave out of spite. She just didn't want to be insecure in love. She wanted a love that was hers alone. Xiao Qianma was thrown into prison. The Dali Temple conducted a series of investigations against him. After about half a month, Xiao Qianma was convicted and sentenced to execution in 3 days. I went to visit him in his cell, his eyes bloodshot through the bars. He demanded, Why, Su Xinghua, didn't you go to plead for me? I met his gaze calmly. I did plead, but I also gave His Majesty the evidence of your bribery. His face twisted with agitation as he shook the bars, repeating why. Like a broken record, I stared at him and said coolly, Xiao Qianma, you betrayed me. May the faithless swallow 1,000 needles. That day when I walked out of the Zhuangyuan mansion, I'd already decided to let you go. You're the one who came crawling to me, yet you couldn't resist temptation and took bribes. You couldn't control your desires, couldn't protect your bright future, and ultimately couldn't save your own life. You brought this all upon yourself. After speaking, I turned and walked out of the cell. He shouted after me, Su Xinghua, I was wrong. This is all my fault. Go beg His Majesty to release me, will you? The clanging of chains against bars grew frantic as the jailer, seeing me leave without hesitation, callously kicked Xiao Qianma. How dare you shout? A lowly prisoner like you isn't fit to even mention Her Highness. Ugh, what rotten luck. Xiao Qianma's words gradually trailed off. Soon after, faint sobbing could be heard from within the cell. Su Xinghua, I regret everything. It was me who scorned poverty and coveted wealth. The words dissipated into thin air, unheard by anyone. 3 days later, Xiao Qianma was executed at noon beneath the Xianling Gate. I didn't go to watch. They say steaming blood pooled across the ground, a sight too gruesome to behold. Never in the history of the great Zhou dynasty had a top scholar met such a grisly end. Storytellers turned Xiao Qianma's tale into legend, spreading it throughout Great Zhou and back to Apricot Blossom Village. The storyteller sighed, young Master Zhao's gravest mistake. It all began with betraying a woman. Now, let's hear the next story. The day I faked my death to escape the palace, that damned emperor wept hysterically. Meanwhile, I nearly suffocated from suppressed laughter inside the coffin. I'm Chen Su, daughter of the Prime Minister. Back when that bastard was still a down-and-out prince. He married me just to secure my father's political support. Of course, I didn't marry him because I fancied him. It's simply my station to wed a prince, and among all the royal brothers, he happened to be the most dashing. Very well then, for the sake of my visual feast in later years, father reluctantly shed tears while securing his throne. On our wedding night, my eyes shimmered the moment he lifted my bridal veil, not from coyness, but from being utterly spellbound by his striking beauty. His crimson robes burned bright, his jade-like features radiant, a celestial vision beyond compare, truly exquisite, far fairer than that male courtesan Song you kept. Besides, male escorts cost money, but this husband of mine comes free of charge. This marriage is an absolute steal for me. Chen Su, no need to be so formal, dear husband, just call me your wife. My tone must have sounded like a brothel madam, making Wen Qingyu's perpetually furrowed brows scrunch up tight enough to crush a fly. Don't presume to win this prince's heart, know your place, and you shall receive the dignity befitting your station. Fine, I agreed without hesitation. Honestly, who cares about his heart? It's his body I'm after. That night taught me the brutal difference between fantasy and reality. 3 years of marriage, and I've never even gotten near Wen Qingyu's bed. Staring at the glaring chastity mark on my arm and Song Yu's nth male companion in her arms, my heart ached bitterly. Damn it. Miscalculated. This deal, no, this marriage, has cost me dearly. Has your lord still not consummated the marriage? Song Yu teased me with a smirk. No, maybe he's got some issues. Song Yu's gaze lingered, her smile widening. Poor you. Want me to lend you Qing'er for some fun? Consider it sisterly kindness. My mouth practically watered at the sight of demure Qing'er nestled in Song Yu's arms. I nodded eagerly, stammering, You dare. I froze when those ice-cold words exploded by my ear. Song Yu, however, was doubled over with laughter. Flustered, I muttered, "My lord's returned. Why wasn't I informed?" His stormy expression looked like he'd marched through battlefield steel as he snapped, "This is my own estate. Am I to seek permission to enter?" Sensing trouble, Song Yu fled with her gigolo clinging to her. Someone's in a foul mood today. My prize gigolo slipped away. I could have throttled Wen Qingyu right then. Jinsu, are you really that desperate for company? That's utterly unreasonable, my lord. I shook my right arm slightly, letting the chastity mark catch the dark depths of his gaze. He fell silent, though clearly unconvinced. Still, you shouldn't behave this way. It's unbecoming of a princess consort. I rolled my eyes. How hypocritical, my lord. You remain chaste for Miss Zhao because you adore her. Since I've no affection for you, why should I sacrifice my own happiness? Perhaps the mention of his unattainable white moonlight struck a nerve, for when Qingyu's face turned deathly pale, I had no idea he carried someone else in his heart before our marriage. Had I known, I'd still have married him. After all, the man's simply too easy on the eyes. I first learned of Miss Zhao during our first month of marriage. Qingyu stumbled into my arms, drunk and weeping uncontrollably. His sudden embrace took me by delightful surprise. Just as I began fumbling with his clothes in ravenous desire, "L'honneur," his voice melted against my ear with inexhaustible tenderness. My heart ached inexplicably. Then I kept tugging at his clothes, but I'd underestimated his feelings for that Miss Zhao. That night, he kicked me clear from the headboard to the foot of the bed. Not a single kind word escaped him for my injuries. "You brought this upon yourself. Did I not warn you against coveting this prince's heart?" Wincing in pain that made my whole body feel shattered, I pursed my lips. Did I ever care about winning his heart? All I wanted was to have him. After learning my husband had someone else in his heart, the bitterness in mine strangely faded. On the contrary, I listened with great interest as he recounted his star-crossed romance with that Miss Zhao. I'd pay extra attention whenever attending banquets. Life's too dull anyway. Might as well enjoy Wen Qingyu's comedy of errors. And so it went. When Miss Zhao got married, he cried his eyes out. Miss Zhao had 2 kids in 3 years, and he bawled like a walrus. Meanwhile, I kept mocking him while pretending to comfort him, going further down that path. Sometimes I even considered becoming sworn siblings with him, but he shut me down with an icy glare. "Don't you like me?" Strangely enough, he wasn't moping around over his Miss Zhao this time. "I do, your face." I watched his towering figure loom over me with dangerous intensity. Too intimidated to speak the truth, he stared at me for a long moment, his eyes brimming with anguish. In the end, he turned and strode away. I absently rubbed the shoulder he'd touched, a knowing smile playing on my lips. "TCH, you little brat. Just wait till I make you cry big sister in bed." After that unpleasant conversation, I rarely saw Wen Qingyu anymore. As time passed, I could hardly even see my father. Just as I was climbing the wall in my moldy boredom to rendezvous with Song Yu for some romantic escapades, a large hand grabbed hold of my silk skirt. Startled, I tumbled straight into arms that smelled faintly of orchids. The embrace was broad and warm, so comforting I never wanted to leave. Then I was unceremoniously hauled upright. Wen Qingyu looked utterly exhausted. Weariness etched across his brow. "Where would you like to go?" "Somewhere far away," I replied poetically. His tone softened unusually. "Don't go looking for Princess Jala. She's left with the cavalry general to garrison the frontier." I looked up in surprise. Something wrong? His expression turned grave as he nodded. "There's trouble." I immediately bolted, but he caught me mid-escape, leaving me flailing helplessly. Somehow, his usually icy voice seemed to thaw with laughter. "Like a frozen river greeting spring, but this is good news for us. Jinsu, you're to become empress." I shot him a sideways glare. He calls this good news. Stuck staring at his expressionless mug all day instead of charming young men, managing a harem of women, and they call this a privilege. Against all my wishes, I became the empress, and a damn good one at that. I dutifully helped Wen Qingyu collect Miss Zhao's memorabilia like the perfect wife, noble consort Li, imperial concubine Jia. Lady Hui. Out of 3,000 beauties in the harem, 2,999 are just knockoffs of Lady Zhao. This made the real Lady Zhao suspect when Qingyu still had designs on her, so she fled overnight with her husband without leaving a trace. When Qingyu tearfully cursed me out in gratitude, then promptly dismissed all the lookalikes I'd collected from the palace, I patted his shoulder consolingly. "Stop wasting your effort, she's already a mother of 3. She's out of your league, aren't these substitutes good enough? Chin-Su, his calm demeanor while reviewing memorials suddenly shattered into fury. What? I'm just stating facts. Are you really this eager to push me toward another woman? My eye twitched. Why was he acting like the victim here? As the nation's mother, jealousy is beneath me. And let's be clear, I'm not pushing you away, you were never mine to begin with. It's downright humiliating. 6 years have passed. And I still haven't made it to the bedside. Becoming emperor must have sharpened his skills. He used to just glare at me, but now he takes direct action, pinning me against the desk, his mesmerizing peach blossom eyes locked onto mine from mere inches away, stealing my breath. Wen Qingyu, my body melted into his embrace. Chin-Su, tell me you love me. His lips drew nearer, his scorching breath grazing my neck, lost in passion. I caressed his face. You're breathtaking. I'm utterly obsessed with your features. Wen Qingyu froze, then straightened up stiffly. Get out. I scratched my ear and made myself scarce pronto. Honestly, this marriage deal has left me completely bankrupt. Back then, though I was merely a 000 queen, no favor, no temper, no heir, at least I still held the title. Concubines fawning over Wang Qingyu's whims were still dime a dozen. Yet Wang Qingyu cruelly robbed me of my last shred of joy. Now I'm left idling in Phoenix Hall, staring blankly at rows of stiff-necked eunuchs and maids. Unfortunately, I'm not a turtle and they're not mung beans. The more I look, the more resentful I become. Back in the day, there were rows of men circling around me, all thanks to my unscrupulous father's reputation, instead of rows of eunuchs. After glancing at the vermilion spot on my arm, I became so resentful that I rebelled, on that dark and stormy night. I kicked open the doors of the Shan Palace with a single strike. Wen Qingyu, if I don't have my way with you tonight, I'll take your ancestor's surname. Wen Qingyu was utterly shocked. I was equally stunned. The ministers were even more shocked. The chancellor's daughter, who they saw as gentle, virtuous, and dignified, the empress herself, was now acting like a madwoman, speaking wildly, with her hair and clothes in disarray, showing no trace of decorum, looking into their scrutinizing gaze. I felt quite embarrassed. What a pity, the Xianshi Hall is too well built. There's no crack for me to hide in. Since things were already heading in an unpredictable direction, I decided to go all in. I leaned against the doorframe, exuding charm and allure. Why haven't you left yet? Do I need to escort you out myself, or is it that you intend to stay and have a late-night chat with the emperor? I spoke the words late-night chat with deliberate emphasis. And a few thin-skinned officials instantly felt a chill run down their spines. They turned to Wen Qingyu with pleading eyes. Wen Qingyu had already stepped right before me. Quite the player, he said, icy eyes glinting with faint amusement. Before I could get a clearer look, a bright yellow outer robe enveloped me. Not leaving yet, my vision returned after the rustling footsteps faded away. He leaned casually against the pillar. Exuding elegance, the empress seems to be in high spirits. I won't play the coy game with him, as it doesn't work on Wen Qingyu. I directly flipped Wen Qingyu over my shoulder and onto the ground. Wen Qingyu was taken aback. Chin-Su, are you serious? Yes. I ripped his clothes off without looking up. Either give me a man, or give yourself to me. I'm not some virtuous woman, and I don't love you, so there's no need for me to live like a widow. You don't love me. He flipped me over and pinned me down. Then who do you love? Your face. Wen Qingyu remained silent, clearly never expecting that one day he would lose to his own face. The moment he stopped resisting, I became even more enthusiastic. 6 years of longing finally came true that day. What a joyous occasion. But soon, I couldn't laugh anymore. Wen Qingyu, on the other hand, let out a rare laugh. Why did you stop? My face darkened. Song, you never told me what comes after undressing someone. Never mind. Wen Qingyu sighed with affectionate resignation. I'll take over. He pulled me into his embrace, his pale slender fingers loosening my sash. Wen Qingyu's usually cold eyes were filled with desire, his voice hoarse. Chin-Su, it's going to hurt, but this is your choice, and even if you cry, I won't stop. Who am I, after pining for him for 6 years? Would I back down now? I suddenly felt fired up. Get on with it. You're as slow as a eunuch. Wen Qingyu's face turned darker than mine in an instant. As it turns out, he was right. I was in so much pain that tears were about to come out, but seeing Wen Qingyu's slightly taunting smile, I forced them back. Is that enough? Wen Qingyu's voice sounded a bit shaky. I was about to faint myself, but seeing him all sweaty and his mouth running wild, I blurted out bluntly, can't take it anymore. Then, I couldn't take it anymore. My back was about to break, and for the first time, I questioned life itself. I wanted his body, but he wanted my life. Just as I thought, this is a total money-losing scheme. In my drowsy state, I seemed to hear his voice filled with regret and tenderness. Susu, I'm sorry, please wait for me a little longer. When I woke up, when Chenjiu had already left for the morning court session, in front of me, there was only a bowl of steaming medicinal soup. His Majesty said that the Empress was tired last night, so he specially ordered a tonic to be brewed. I lowered my eyes and touched the slightly brown bloodstains on the bed, the intimate moments of last night vividly in my mind. Truly, the closest and yet the most distant are husband and wife. I didn't even need to inspect the residue. Just by smelling it, I knew the answer. Contraceptive potion. I have nothing to resent. I've always loved Wen Qingyu's body, never thought of having his child. Thank you, Your Majesty. I drank it all in one go. Not bad, it was quite refreshing. Another bowl, please. I asked the palace servant for another one, thirsty as I was. Chensu, do you want a child? After drinking countless bowls of contraceptive medicine, Wen Qingyu asked, his expression was no longer cold, but filled with guilt. I don't like children, I still want to stay alive. Wen Qingyu's reason for preventing me from having children is clear. He fears my offspring might replace him with their unscrupulous grandfather's help, leading to maternal relatives seizing power and the Wen family losing their reign. So for everyone's safety, it's better that I remain childless. But that day, I saw you holding the child from another family was well raised, and I found it adorable, so I held it. Chensu, I don't want to beat around the bush anymore. Wen Qingyu. The imperial physician said I've damaged my body and can't have children anymore. You can rest assured. His calm expression suddenly turned panicked. Who said that? Susu. Who said it? We will have a child. We will. I couldn't tell if he was acting or genuinely upset, but in that moment, my heart suddenly stopped reacting to him. This is my 9th year of marriage to Wen Qingyu, and I've realized I don't like his face as much anymore. A bit tired of it, after a moment of indulgence. Perhaps feeling reassured, I didn't drink an unusually large bowl of contraceptive soup this time, and I finally met my unscrupulous old man. He's aged and thinner, his once spirited eyes now marked with the wear of time. Asu, I feel old, speak plainly. I'm outta here. I'm done playing with that little brat Wen Qingyu. When the cunning rabbit dies, the loyal dog is stewed. Wen Qingyu has risen, and my father, though a loyal servant, is now a stumbling block to his power. My father has 3,000 retainers, scattered across the land. To deal with him, it's not enough to simply dismiss his official position, but to exterminate his entire clan, to cut off all roots. You don't want me anymore. My father nodded firmly. No, you go and live with him yourself. All right, I sighed helplessly. Then you have to take me with you when you run away, little brat, thinking you can live a quiet life on your own. Sorry, not happening, since I've already got Wen Qingyu. I have no regrets. There are plenty of fish in the sea. Let this stoic, scheming guy stay in the palace and reminisce about his Miss Zhao. I'm off. The saying plans can't keep up with changes has been brutally proven true in my case. My father is dead, killed on the day he resigned and returned to his hometown. It wasn't an assassination, but a public execution by Wen Qingyu on the charge of colluding with others for personal gain. I grew up without a mother, raised by my father, who took care of me despite the fact that I was already well attended to by maids and nannies. I felt utterly miserable, crying so hard that my throat was hoarse. When Qingyu arrived, and his embrace was as warm and comforting as always, this time, I refused to cling to this warmth tainted by power, ambition, and blood feuds. I pushed him away, my throat aching as if it had been slashed 1,000 times, yet I managed to say, Your Majesty, who are you trying to impress? A look of helplessness and heartache appeared in his indifferent eyes, and his thin lips moved slightly. Susu, I have something to say. He wanted to speak, but I didn't give him the chance. Black blood trickled from the corner of my mouth, and a crack appeared in his indifferent gaze, filled with a mix of pale and dark red. What do you want to say? Every inch of my body was being ground by pain, yet a wild smile spread across my face. My hoarse voice dripped with sarcasm, cutting sharply across Wen Qingyu's helpless, bewildered face. You want me to die to eliminate the threat, don't you? It's okay, Wen Qingyu. I'll grant your wish. This path was chosen by me, and I have no regrets. My blackened fingertips brushed past Wen Qingyu's exquisite phoenix eyes, stopping at the corner of his eye. But Wen Qingyu, don't think you've won. My ghost will haunt you every moment. You'll remember me, my pitiful 9 years, my family, and my father who helped you ascend the throne, and my smile grew deeper and deeper. Your first child, Chensu. Why wouldn't you let me finish? In my dazed state, I could feel his body trembling uncontrollably. The bloodstain at the corner of his eye glistened like a crimson tear. Damn, this drug really packs a delayed punch. Fortunately, the coffin was to be kept for 3 days, or else I really feared I would be buried alive. I'm not dead. There are countless beautiful things in the world that I haven't seen yet. How could I bear to die? It was just a fake death to fool Wen Qingyu. After all, my father is dead. Even if he wanted to keep me, it would only be as a caged bird. I'm the one who raises birds. How could I ever be willing to be someone else's pet? Of course, those tears I shed for my father were absolutely genuine. As for faking death, it just made the original plan slightly more dramatic than intended. Right now, listening to the mournful music flooding the air outside, I'm fighting the urge to cover my ears. Why are they wailing like they've lost their own kin? What's it to them? Suddenly, the mournful music faded away, footsteps approached, light yet sluggish, as if weighed down by the burdens of time. A faint whiff of ambergris drifted by. And I fought the urge to open my eyes. Though I'd seen it countless times, I still longed for one last glimpse of his face. After keeping my eyes shut for so long, can't blame me for wanting something nice to look at. Susu, ugh, I shot back silently in my mind. After today, we'll be strangers. Damn right, I'm living my best life. Gonna keep 10 toy boys calling me mistress every damn day. His hoarse voice trembled with helplessness. After a long pause, his typically monotone voice cracked with tears. I never meant for this. I just feared, if you knew the truth beforehand, acting too composed would raise suspicions. The inside story. My eyes darted suspiciously. What devilry is this thing scheming now? This was merely a play between Chancellor Chen and myself. The Chen family's influence breeds envy thicker than schools of fish in the Yangtze, even if Chancellor Chen relinquished power voluntarily. Your mere existence would make him a target. They'd eliminate him to prevent future threats. The only solution was my personal execution order, erasing Chancellor Chen from this world to crush their ambitions. What? That old fool father of mine is still alive. Hearing that, I nearly jumped out of my coffin. I swear I didn't mean to keep it from you. Chen Xiang is in the suburbs right now. He's doing fine. He misses you terribly. And so do I. I pursed my lips. Humph, you did this on purpose. Come back, please. I'll do anything you say from now on. I'm begging you, Susu. I rolled my eyes and muttered, in your dreams. And just like that, my passive self was conveniently carried out of the palace. At the burial, Wen Qingyu, who had remained silent like an outsider, suddenly burst into tears. He wailed so loudly that even after I'd sealed the coffin, his sobs still made my head ring. While pitying the palace servants outside, I couldn't help but laugh at his cries. Serves him right for deceiving me. Go cry your eyes out. A man only grows more handsome when he sheds tears. I enjoyed a carefree life outside the palace, though it lasted mere months. Carrying this child, I'm all heart but no strength left. Swallowing my grief, I patted my round belly. Listen kid, your mom gave up men just for you. You'd better turn out handsomer than Wen Qingyu, or I'm stuffing you right back in. No verbal reply came, just a solid kick that left me doubled over for ages. You little brat, enjoy growing old alone with Wen Qingyu, I fumed. Miss, someone's asking for you outside. My eyes flickered briefly before dimming again. Well, look what the cat dragged in. After years beyond the Great Wall, Songyu had long shed the prim manners of capital city ladies. Sprawled unelegantly across the white jade rocking chair, she wore a troubled expression. Chin-su, you can't keep going on like this. I remained non-committal. What's wrong with living like this? Aside from raising Wen Qingyu's kid, just look at these beauties. Who wouldn't want this playboy lifestyle? Chin-su, stop running. Wen Qingyu already suspects something. He'll track you down soon. And then what? Drag me back. He has become utterly reckless, Suyu said with a troubled expression. After you left, the ministers presented several women who resembled you, without exception. I know this routine, I said without hesitation. They were all sent away, right? No. Songyu shook her head. They were all killed, along with the ministers. My eyes widened in shock. Is he insane? I must be out of my mind. So Chin-su, you've got to understand me. Songyu threw herself at my knees, wailing like her heart was breaking. I never meant to betray you. That bastard played dirty and kidnapped Xiao Qingqing. I swear, I was completely helpless. My eye twitched violently. So much for sisterhood when a handsome man comes into the picture. So he's already tracked me down. No. Songyu shook her head. I do value our sisterhood. I only told him you're alive, not where you are. I let out a cold laugh. Every inch of land belongs to the crown, and every soul owes allegiance to the throne. Since he knows I'm alive, it's only a matter of time before he finds me. It had been 6 months when I saw Wen Qingyu again, though already heavily pregnant at the time. I still risked sneaking out to the Jade Pavilion when I heard they'd acquired a courtesan of unparalleled beauty. The frozen smile on my lips clearly wasn't from admiring the young entertainers. When Qingyu stood rigidly before me, after months apart, he'd aged enough to pass for my father. Why didn't you bring an escort? I stay silent. Watching such performances is more enjoyable alone. I must be out of my mind to share the joy with others. Can I see you home? His eyes were filled with pleading. I didn't respond to him, just pushed past the guards and left alone. As I reached the middle of the stairs, I caught a glimpse of the servant out of the corner of my eye, but it didn't stir any emotion. You lied again. What's with the peerless beauty claim? How come she looks so ordinary in front of Wen Qingyu? Su. Realizing I couldn't leave, I turned back impatiently, my tone sharp. Your Majesty, can you not leave? Can you come home with me? Ha! I chuckled, stepping forward to pat his cheek with the back of my hand. Wen Qingyu, I have a home, but it has nothing to do with you. I'm tired of playing with you. I'm not interested anymore. With that, I turned around and walked away, pretending to be cool, but being too arrogant always comes with consequences, and I slipped, rolling down. I've never felt pain like this before, but compared to the physical pain, my heart aches even more. The child I went through so much to give birth to looks like a wrinkled little mouse, not even a fraction as beautiful as Wen Qingyu. Who could handle this? Wen Qingyu, on the other hand, is as happy as a fool, holding my son, his eyes rimmed red. Su, we have a child now. Do you like it? He nodded eagerly. It's yours. I coldly kicked Wen Qingyu and his son out the door. I have no idea what Wen Qingyu's expression was like outside the door, but I imagine it was quite shocked. Su, you're abandoning your own child. Your son has nothing to do with me. Wen Qingyu, from now on, we are truly even. The moment those words were spoken, the drumbeat-like knocking instantly ceased. The wind seemed to favor him specially, carrying his ragged, worrisome breathing straight to my ears. But who do you think I am? How could I possibly surrender? Opening the door to reconcile, that's nothing but wishful thinking. Think about what he did to me 9 years ago. If I don't torment him, I don't deserve to be called Su. He struggled to suppress the lump in his throat. We haven't settled our debts. I owe you. I can't repay it in this lifetime. I heard it, and I was deeply shaken. Can't repay it in this lifetime. Does that mean you'll haunt me in the next? Thinking about my miserable, ascetic life. I kept shaking my head. No need, really, you don't owe me anything. But it seemed like he wasn't on the same page as me, his voice hoarse. Su, I won't let go. Honestly, if it weren't for my postpartum weakness, I'd really want to chop his hand off with a knife. Truly shameless, each in their own way. I've already given him a son. What more does he want? He even wants to ruin my carefree days. If he doesn't even love me, why keep pestering me? What? Is the grass always greener on the other side? Gotta admit, being emperor has its tiny perks. At least people actually like you. These days, peacemakers have practically worn out my non-existent doorstep. Without exception, I didn't see any of them. My unscrupulous father, relying on our blood relation, tried to force his way in, crying outside the door every day, calling my childhood name, but I remained unmoved. Haha, I wouldn't see him even if he were the last person on earth. They deceived me along with Wen Qingyu, wasting all those tears of mine. Do you think I'd let him in? Of course, there are exceptions, like Miss Zhao. That's right, the white moonlight Wen Qingyu could never attain has arrived. This is the first time she has initiated a conversation with me. I used to shamelessly pursue her. Her voice is as soft and gentle as mine, like the song of a nightingale, but she is genuine, while I am just pretending. That's why Wen Qingyu will love her forever and remain indifferent to me forever. Princess Yongning, Su, she sat in front of me, her every move exuding grace and elegance. I was already mesmerized just watching her, let alone Wen Qingyu. What brings you here, Princess Yongning? I tightened my coat, feigning ignorance. She sighed, her face filled with deep resentment. I didn't want to come to you. But Wen Heng has been detained by him. I truly have no other choice. I shook my head helplessly as I listened to the familiar plot. Sorry, go back, Su, he's waiting for you. I raised an eyebrow. Does that statement from the Princess of Yongning not make you feel guilty? He truly loved. Perhaps sensing my indifference, Miss Zhao grew flustered, a faint sheen of sweat appearing on her forehead. Actually, on my wedding day he already. My apologies, I shouldn't be troubling you with this. Farewell. With that, she hurried away in a fluster, leaving me utterly bewildered, standing there dumbfounded. What kind of person does that? Dropping vague hints in a whisper. Was she just here to waste my time? From that day on, my courtyard became deserted, and it wasn't until Ruar's full moon that it came alive again. That day, my face was frozen in a smile. After entertaining the guests, I threw myself onto the bed without a care. Suddenly, a familiar sound came from the door. My eyes flickered, but I remained silent. His tall figure fell upon me, and then he picked up the blanket to cover me. Susu, I'm leaving. His voice was filled with, I had a great day today, and I won't regret it even if I die on the battlefield someday. I raised an eyebrow. When Qingyu is going to the battlefield, despite my many questions, I managed to hold them back. Susu, he pulled me into his arms, his voice softer and more tender than ever before. If I can make it back alive, will you give me another chance? I really want to be with you. Even with my eyes closed, I could feel the endless loneliness and longing in him. He held me all night, and neither of us got any sleep. The next day, he tucked me in and left. Standing on the city wall, I watched his figure in military attire leave, feeling no longer so light. It's like a row of needles piercing my heart, forcing me to stop avoiding. When Qingyu said he wanted to be with me, but do I really want to go back, to become his empress and be with him? Since marrying Wen Qingyu, it seems I've had no choices in life. When the news of Wen Qingyu's critical injury on the battlefield reached me, my pupils constricted as I was admiring a scroll of beautiful women. The scroll, losing its grip, rolled to the ground like a wild horse breaking free, long and drawn out, stretched straight and lingering. All the intimate moments of the past came flooding back. The uncertain news of his fate gripped my heart like an invisible hand. And as I struggled to breathe, I uncontrollably collapsed to the ground. It was quite a coincidence that Miss Zhao arrived at this moment as well. She was crying like a pear tree adorned with rain, and under normal circumstances, I would have admired her closely, but now I was too overwhelmed to think straight. Jinsu, she grabbed me firmly, will you go see him, please? He has been thinking of you all his life. Please, go see him. I beg you. I yanked myself free from her. Lady Yongning. That statement suits you better. No, Zhao shook her head. He loves you. He stopped liking me long ago, but since he made such a harsh promise to you, he had to keep up the act. Do you remember the day of my wedding? I nodded. The memory was vivid. I nearly split my bottom into 8 pieces. That day, he finally let go of me and accepted himself. You were his everything, and for that, he gave up everything he had. In truth, his ambition lay not in the court but in the, however. To gain the approval of those around you, he climbed relentlessly. After finally becoming the emperor, he had to silence the endless chatter of the court officials. Did you think he made you drink the contraceptive to guard against you? Not at all. He was afraid he couldn't keep you safe. The palace is full of eyes and hands, and your family's power was unrivaled. How many pairs of eyes were watching you, watching your belly, every day? He lived in fear, terrified that you might die because of a child. Jinsu, as an emperor, the most taboo thing is a powerful minister, but for you not to hate him, he was willing to keep your father, to keep such a sword hanging over his head at all times. Isn't such an emperor's love called love? This time, Miss Zhao finally didn't speak in a soft, gentle manner. Her words were like blades, piercing through my defenses. Fake. My hands trembled. It's all fake. He's deceiving me again. Jinsu. Perhaps thinking I was beyond saving, Miss Zhao slapped me hard. Wake up. No one would joke with the life of an emperor. No. I pushed Zhao aside in a frenzy and ran out. I saw my unscrupulous father who had been locked outside, his face unusually grave. You're lying to me again, aren't you? My unscrupulous father, who had seen many ups and downs, firmly gripped my shoulder, trying to calm my agitation. Jinsu, stay calm. No one is lying to you anymore. He really fell into a trap. Your father hasn't asked much of you in his life, but now, my father's expression was so grave. Son, you must pull yourself together. Ruar is still so young. You must help him. No, I can't believe it. It was summer, yet my world felt like it was submerged in icy water. Father, I knew I shouldn't be crying in such a dire moment, but I couldn't help but wail. I think I'm starting to like him. I don't want him to die. It would be such a waste for someone so handsome to die. That night, my father and the others prepared a carriage for me. Before leaving, I leaned over and said to my father, if I don't come back, Ruar will be left to you. My father shuddered and nearly fell to the ground. I smirked mischievously. I was just kidding. I'll be back. Bring Wen Qingyu back with you. The tent was so quiet that even my slightly trembling breath sounded unusually loud. A faint smell of blood hung in the air, making it almost impossible for me to breathe. The emperor has been unconscious for 6 or 7 days now. If he doesn't wake up soon, it might really be, the imperial physician started to say, but my fierce gaze silenced him. I sat by the bed, carefully wiping his body. Be more careful with your words next time. As someone with a kind heart, I cannot tolerate those who curse the emperor. Now, all of you, leave. Once everyone had left, my calm and rationality crumbled. Wen Qingyu. I picked him up. Wen Qingyu. Wen Qingyu. I called his name over and over again. My voice grew hoarse from shouting. In desperation, I snapped. Wen Qingyu. If you don't wake up now, I swear I'll marry someone else and take our son with me. No. The limp hand at my waist suddenly tightened its grip. No. Wen Qingyu. For a moment, I couldn't decide whether to burst into tears or scream in frustration. He wasn't even unconscious, yet he's pretending to sleep. What? Is he happy to see me in such a miserable state? You bastard. Is deceiving me all you're good for? I threw him onto the bed and turned to leave. Su, I'm like this now. Can't you say something nice to comfort me? His voice was so soft, yet it burned in my ears. As he spoke, he pulled me back into his embrace. I wanted to struggle, but I was afraid of touching his wound, so I gave up. Wen Qingyu, what do I owe you? Why do you always lie to me? I must have dug up your Wen family's ancestral grave in my previous life, which is why you're torturing me like this in this life. Right, no more lies. He sighed. I've got you trapped. No more lies. Wen Qingyu, Susu, say something nice to cheer me up. I'm really in pain. You deserve it. I'm getting married when I go back. And having 2 kids in 3 years, I clearly felt Wen Qingyu's body stiffen. And then I was pinned beneath him. Susu, his voice was hoarse. If you want 2 kids in 3 years, you'd better hurry. What do you want this time? A princess? Have some shame, will you? He raised an eyebrow. How so? My face is yours, and my body is too. As I stood again before the ministers to receive their homage, I secretly poked Wen Qingyu. Wen Qingyu. Wen Qingyu, call me husband, your majesty. I looked at him provocatively. Wen Qingyu sighed helplessly. What is it? Your beloved said you fell in love with me on her wedding day. What's going on? Didn't you kick me out? Wen Qingyu blushed at the words. Curious, I peeked over. Good heavens, I'd been with him for 11 years. And this was the first time I'd ever seen him blush. That's right. Even the eloquent Wen Qingyu became tongue-tied at this moment. How should I put it? Even though he was embarrassed and at a loss for words, I could see faint glimmers of light in his eyes, filled with joy and beauty. Miss Zhao was just a dream to me, and that day my dream shattered, but you were there by my bedside, waiting for me right where I was, and that's when I knew, you weren't a dream, you were my home. It's the home worth guarding with my entire life. Jinsu, amidst the vicissitudes of life, you are my only love. As the breeze passed by, I gazed at my husband. Still as radiant as he was back then, you captivated me at first sight.